Guys, welcome back to this other whiteboard race hack video. Now, today I'm going to be sharing something which to me is very invaluable, which is related to carburation tuning. Now, we all know that carburation is just super important in two-strokes engines, and that's important in any category basically, from minis to juniors to seniors to shifters. It's super important. Now, while in juniors and seniors, you can tune up your carburation by just moving with your fingers. It's a membrane carburetor, and that's still possible based on your experience and based you looking at the exhaust temperature on your dash. You can see what kind of temperature your EGT from your exhaust temperature you got, and you can see, all right, am I too lean or am I too rich? You can figure it out and you can change it. But for example, Mini 60, unless you're driving X30, but for Mini 60 and shifters, you can't really change the carburation when you're driving. And so you have to do really good analysis combined with driver feedback so that you can find the optimal carburation when you're driving on track, because carburation is key. And as you probably know, it's basically the trade-off between being too rich and being too lean. When we talk about being too rich, it's basically having too much fuel or having too little fuel when you're basically too lean. It's really like that. You want to find a compromise between, again, too much fuel being pumped into the engine versus too little fuel, because the point is that given the same amount of air, all right, that's flowing into the engine, you want to basically match perfectly the distribution of fuel and how much fuel, not only overall but at the top range, at the like a middle range, at the bottom range. You really want to be able to set up a proper carburation so it distributes the like the fuel in the proper way in the bottom as well as at the top. So it's really key that you double down on carburation. Now, you can just rely on the driver feedback, all right, but we wouldn't be needing data if the driver feedback will be always perfect. But the reality is that even for pro drivers that are very experienced, you will always need a double check, a confirmation from the data, especially with RS3. I have a really great time with it all the time, and I feel it's just generally super useful at tell me exactly what's the current state. Now, the data we're analyzing today is two separate sessions from the same driver of the same day at Lonato in Ayami X30. And we can see that this driver, for example, was having a huge difference in carburation. You can see right now at the bottom we have the GPS speed channel, whereas at the top we see the exhaust temperature. And while there's a really cool way to tell exactly, because right now you're looking at the peak, and the peak looks about 722 in the red, way quite lean. For the green, it looks like 679. But if you want to do it automatically, and if you want to see the proper max peak and minimum, because that's what everybody does, by the way, which is they look on their dash, like on their Micron 6 or on their Unipro, on their Alfano, and they try to have a look at their peaks, the max and the minimum, which is one way to do that. Maybe it's not the best way. I like to use the lambda sensor. I mean, that's another topic, and I'm not sure if I should share that because it has a lot of I think it has a lot of secrets that I want to keep hidden for the team and everything. This is already a pretty big secret I'm revealing, like what one of the easiest thing you can do and one of the most effective things you can do to find some really great exhaust temperature insights. And it's gonna use some of the I'm gonna click some buttons over here, and I will tell you exactly how to do it yourself in order to achieve the same outcome. But as you can see, first of all, if you're interested in seeing the max and minimum of the exhaust temperature, you gotta go here in channels report. You see here there's a bunch of different channels, speed, RPMs. And so what I'm gonna do for the sake of this exercise, I'm just gonna remove all of them, and I'm just gonna put the exhaust temperature, and I will show you what I'll do. All right, let me remove them all. Okay, they've all gone. There's still one, I forgot. All right, average, GPS, long. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on this plus button, and I'm gonna select average, minimum, actual minimum and average, and I'm gonna select exhaust temperature. They're gonna pop up here. So what I'll see is, first of all, the minimum temperature. Let me open up my Epic Pen because I forgot to open it up yet. So as you will see, we'll have the minimum. Well, let's take the fastest lap. I always like to take the fastest lap. So the minimum temperature is 536. and for the other session, it's in this fastest lap, it's 499. As you can see, in one lap he had a massive spike of 526, but I think that's not very relevant. Like, we should take the fastest lap, all right, which is this one highlighted in blue, and that one. So there's about 5/10 in difference. Don't worry, it's not just the carburation. I think the carburation can't be as big of a difference in this case. I think the carburation was 1 or 2/10, but the track was so much better in the red session because this was qualifying, whereas this was the final. So the track in quali was way better, and also that we had new tires. So I think the quali had not a proper carburation, because as you can see now, we were a bit too lean, whereas the final had a really spot on carburation. So as you can see, this is the minimum, and then here's the maximum. So 723 in the qualifying session, and 680. So there's, as you can see, 43 degrees difference in the top and 37 degrees difference at the bottom. And in terms of average, the way you see is like that. You look average exhaust temperature, and again, this is a very important point because it's not just about the peaks, it's also about the average. 643, and here we got 610. So there's about 33 degrees. This is really what you want to look at. You want to really look at the difference in the average, because again, you can have a peak of, let's say, which is very high or very low for whatever reason, but if you're not looking at the average, you may get only half of the picture. But where I really feel there is the huge value and the huge hack is in something which is called the scatter plot. Now, imagine, before going into it, imagine having a graph. For those ones familiar with this, imagine having a chart or a graph that tells you exactly, overlaying the two sessions, which tells you exactly at the carburation at the given speed across the lap, as a like a proper summary of what's going on. Okay, imagine having that. So before I'll go into it, I want to share exactly, okay, what a scatter plot does. Okay, so I'll introduce you to that. So basically, a scatter plot is a graph on an x and y axis, where you can basically choose two different channels and put them together on. Okay, you can put something here on this axis and something on this other axis. For example, what I like to do is I like to have the speed at the bottom when I use the scatter plot. For example, I like to have the speed. So okay, so here, the more we go to the right, the higher the speed. Okay, so let's say speed here is 20, here is 50, let's say here is 100. Okay, so this is the speed, and here I like to put exhaust temperature, which I do it also for G-force. I do also with a lambda. It's really good. So here I will put EGT, so exhaust temperature, also known as EGT. So what I will do is basically I'll be okay. So you'll see a lot of dots during the session. So let's say in this case, one session is highlighted in red. Okay, so one is like in red. So you'll have a lot of separate dots. Like a lot of separate dots. It's like all the points across the lap. Basically, let's say this is like one point along the lap. This is another point along the lap. This is another point along the lap. But you will see is that is like the more we go up, it's gonna be leaner and leaner. Okay, and so you can basically assume like a sort of like trend in terms of like a sort of trendy curve. Like, that's not really low. This is kind of the trend. Okay, because you have all the points. Okay, this is the exhaust temperature, and now we have the speed. So we have all the points that are in terms of so the exhaust temperature that is during the lap. Okay, together with the so basically match with the speed. So let's say in this moment, for example, we are like 95 kilometers, and at 95 kilometers we have, I don't know, let's say this is what 600. This is like 700. Let's say this is like 650. And this is like 600, etc. So let's say at this point we have like at 95 kilometers, which is here basically. Okay, I'm just making it up. At 95 kilometers we have like 650. Okay, so we have 650 exhaust temperature at 95 kilometers. So that's gonna be a dot. Then here we will have, for example, 600 EGT at 70 kilometers. I'm just making it up. And then, okay, we're gonna basically make a trend. And then we have the other session, for example, which is way leaner. And so we have, for the same speed, we have, higher temperatures. So we'll be like this. The dots will be like that. I hope you can see them from from the screen. So we have all the dots over here. Okay, I will make that. I just want to make it, you know, comprehensive for you so you have an idea. But this is great. It tells you right away what is the trend, whether you're lean in the bottom, the top, wherever else. So again, if we make this, if we make the trend, if you draw a trend, you can see the higher up, the leaner, the lower down, the richer. So richer is again when you have too much fuel in the carburation. So the carburation is too rich. All right, given that, so for example here at the same, let's make the example. So here at the same speed, which is 95, instead of having 650, we will have, so at 95, again same, instead of 650, we may have 700. Okay, so it's all like that. So basically this is shifted. It's like statistics would say this is shifted upwards, but this doesn't have to be complicated. I know maybe, you know, as drivers, maybe not the easiest thing for you to understand, but for coaches, for data guys, for parents, I think this is very, very valuable, and it's gonna be super easy to do it, to replicate. I'll show you. So I click here and I already have it because I have saved it up. You know, I save it up, and the way to open it, I just save profile. Here's my one. I will show you exactly how you do it. So as you can see, here is beautiful. Why is it beautiful? Well, because right below here, I have the, you know, the exhaust temperature across the session. Okay, I can basically click a little place around during the lap. Okay, for example here. Okay, at the end of the straight, and look, it's gonna pop up the two different places. I hope you can see that. So you can see in this area at the end of the straight, we have this red, which is a 741 at 93 kilometers. Then we have the green, which is 678 at 95 kilometers. What you can see is that, well, in the right same moment in the lap, the green has 2 kilometers more in top speed and about 36 about 36 degrees less. So you can see in this case the red is probably too lean. But again, you can draw the same trend. Like you see, I'll take a screenshot of this because this is really cool, and I'll share it in the. Can we even share in the description? I don't think we can. But anyways, so I'll close this, and what I'll do is I'll draw a line, a trend line, basically for the red, and a trend line for the green. So it's hard to tell exactly, but you can sort of, you know, understand my point. So it's like we draw a trend like that. Okay, so you can see that the red is way leaner overall, and this is very useful because it tells you at any given speed where it's leaner. For example, what I notice from here is that the leanest part is here in this area. Look, this is the area. Well, actually, let me change the color. So this is the area where the red gets too lean. Okay, and I can go even, which is the reason why I love it, is because I can go here and I can see where that is. Okay, I can see where that is. I just click space. I can see exactly where the issue is. So if I click over here, it's gonna show me it's here. And I have the map over here, which is nice, and this is right exit of the chicane. So what I noticed is that it got quite lean in the exit of the chicane, and then obviously this is at the end of the straight, right in the corner. So for whatever reason, this carburation we had in quali was leaning out massively right after turn one. Okay, so you get a lot of insights from this, and you know what to do on the carburation. Now, probably looking at the red, I was like, you know what? That's what I did, by the way. I was like, you know what? We're a bit too lean overall, especially in the mid to top. So yeah, while the bottom has some, you know, discrepancy in carburation, but you see the bottom is 603 against 624. There's only 21 degrees. Where there was a major difference was at the top, about 44, 45 degrees of difference. So, you know, in this case, you wouldn't go and change too much the bottom. Maybe you would do it in a bit, but you would focus mostly on the top, mid to top. And if you were in X30, you would probably go 3-4 minutes more fuel in the top, and I would have probably done 1-2 minutes at the bottom, and then go out and see again. But this is what we did basically from quali to the race. We just opened up quite a bit, and yes, while the lap times were slower, but as you can see, like all the minimum speeds were slower because the track got worse. Okay, while those were slower, you know, the reality is that all the straights were quicker. Have a look. The straight line speed here is quicker in the green, which is richer. The straight line speed is here quicker. So like everything is a little bit quicker. And even though we start from a lower speed in the mid corner. So yeah, that's just to show you that the carburation quality wasn't spot on. And would have got, and this guy was actually P3 or P4 in the quali, I can't remember, only like 1/10.5 off, so I'm sure there would have been a higher chance for him to get pole if we had it right. But again, this is, we always try things and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's fine. But let me show you exactly how I did it. Okay, let's close it and I'll show you. So with to the left bar here, you gotta click on this part, show the scatter layout. It's basically the third from the top. Okay, so show scatter layout. Oh, actually, it created it on its own. Sorry, like it's like let me start from scratch. Ah, you already did it. But so basically, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna find them separated. You're gonna arrive here, and you're gonna find them separated. Okay, or maybe sometimes you will find even different, like normally the standard, like you will find, like you normally don't have the exhaust temperature. When you come up here, you should find the speed and the RPMs. By the way, it's very interesting because you can do the same game, let's say for the RPMs. For example, you can do this and you can click mix and you can see that the red is a little bit shorter because it's a little bit hot. Like, okay, I'll make a video for this specifically, but let's go back to this. But you can do it for everything. You can do it for you can do for longitudinal G, to understand acceleration. You can do it for lateral G, okay? But again, I like to do it for exhaust temperature. Let's stay relevant to this video. So as you can see, I just click that. You can move it here and there. But again, there's normally how you find them. But in order to see a real value, you're gonna make sure they are mixed, okay? They gotta give mixed. There's also this, just the same. I like to be mixed, doesn't change anything. So, and this is it. And I try to, from this, make an analysis, be, oh, you know what? Okay, we need to be a little bit, we need to be a little bit less fuel, well, more fuel in the mid to top, and that's it. Okay, you can make the dots a little bit bigger by just clicking on this, and also the other one. You see, it's a little bit more evident, just down to your preference, but you can change it also from here. Okay, remember, you can also choose the channel for the x-axis. Okay, what I is in the case is speed, but it makes sense. If we wanted, we could do it also with RPM. It would be the same thing, basically, quite similar. All right, but I don't prefer with RPMs because it's a little bit more. Yeah, it's a bit more. There's a lot, there's a bit of noise over here. For example, there's a tiny bit of noise when you have the bumps, so that's why I don't like to do with RPMs, and I prefer to do it with speed. So let's go back to it, and if you can't find it, you just type it. Okay, you just type it. There you go. GPS speed, and there you go again. It's beautiful. So this, going back to originally what I was sharing with you, is very valuable because it allows you to tell you straight away within 1 second where the issue is, whether you're too lean, whether you're too rich. Yes, if you watch here, you can see the same, but from here it's hard to tell exactly where the issue is. And here you can see quite clearly the issue is in when we are in the mid to top. All right, it's really in the mid to top, and that is what we what we focus on, and that's where we found the laptop. Okay, so that's really where you want to go and work. Actually, let me zoom out. Everybody, remember to always zoom out. Click this, I think, here. Otherwise, it gets some noise. It doesn't get the whole picture. All right, this is gonna be super valuable. Just make sure you try it yourself. You just need some. You just need a session with some basic exhaust temperature and GPS speed, which I guess we all have, right? We just go over here, as I said, we just click that and you make it like that. Remember, if you want to make full picture, full width, you're gonna press the space bar. All right. Otherwise, just move it out. But again, it's for me, it's very, very valuable. Feel free to leave some comments with some suggestions on different video topics you would like me to cover. Like and subscribe. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. That would be super valuable. Right now, only 8% of you are subscribers that are regular viewers of the channel. So yeah, if you feel this is valuable and you would like to receive instant video notifications, yeah, it would be very useful to subscribe, and at least we're gonna prove my girlfriend wrong that these videos are super valuable to you, and I should continue to do that because otherwise she wants me to stop and just focus on something else. So yeah, let's prove her wrong. Let me know what you feel. You can also hit me up on Instagram at Alessio Larandi. If this was valuable,